Hello, hello, and welcome to Millionaires Are Made, the show where we believe you can become a millionaire in all six aspects of health. That's right. It's not all about just being rich with your money. It's about being rich with your mind, your body, physical health, mental health, social health, spiritual health, yes, your financial health. And today we're going to be focusing on your intellectual health. To be as smart as you can be every day. Our topic is a little interesting. It's going to be history. I have no idea where we're going to go with it. I'm excited to find out. This is your first time seeing Millionaires Are Made. This is the show built on the fundamental belief that every person you meet knows a little something that you don't, and there's something to be learned from everyone on this big, beautiful world. In the spirit of authenticity and to try to remove as much bias as possible, we don't talk about tips or advice before the show starts, and most times I don't even know who our guests are until they show up in the green room so that their own journey, their own advice, and their own perspective comes out and we can learn from them. It's going to be awesome. We keep it as real as possible. Three awesome guests from three awesome places on different journeys is going to come share a little tip for you. Audience, if you're watching this, we absolutely love comments and questions. We ask them live to our guests, so feel free to ask a question and we'll have our guests answer it right on the air. Whew. And if you're watching this and you have a little piece of advice, which I know you all do, we would love to have you as a guest. We want as many guests from as many walks of life as possible. The link to sign up is being dropped below. It's www.millionairesaremade. If you're on your phone and can't see it, something like that. And if you've got something that you're walking through this journey in life and it's holding you back and you're going through a week or two of a little struggle fest, let us know the topic. Maybe you're not feeling right. Spiritually, you're feeling a little lost. Tell us a topic. We will do all the work, get three awesome guests, and we'll give you some tips and hopefully get through that in your life. And if you like what we do, obviously, please like, share, subscribe, send stars, whatever medium you're on. Help us keep growing and telling and teaching and sharing with the entire world. On that note, as much as I love to give back and do this whole show, I also do offer free growth coaching. So if you want to sit one-on-one with me, and I spend all day talking to all these people that have great tips and advice. I'd love to share that with you one-on-one. That link's being dropped below. It's growwithaustin.com. And without further ado, we want to do a couple shout outs to our followers. Thank you so much. We love when you guys are here. So on Facebook, Andrea Annette, thank you for following. Instagram, Libby, you're awesome. TikTok, Manpower, and on YouTube, Mini Path with You. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much. Who's ready to learn about intellectual health and history? We're going to bring out our first guest here. Her name is Eden, and let's learn about her. Eden, who are you?
Hi, I am Eden Kruger, and I'm the author of 7 books, non-fiction and fiction. I am a crazy gardening lady, so I'm always growing my vegetables and flowers. And I've also worked on at least 20 other books through my capacity as an Alliance of Independent Authors writing mentor.
Wow, so you know how to type pretty fast.
Well, I wouldn't say that. I can talk fast, but not type fast.
All right, well, Eden, let's get to the nitty-gritty. If I wanted to improve my intellectual health with history, what tiny piece of advice would you give me?
I would say your history, whatever it is, can be used to your advantage. No matter how bad, no matter what you've gone through, you can use it as your strength and your power.
Awesome. Tell me more about that and where that came from.
So, like a lot of people, I had some pretty difficult experiences growing up, and as I became a young adult, whatever could go wrong, it just seemed to go wrong. And those experiences weighed really heavily on me for a long time. And then I met a couple of really wise people, and I had a really good therapist, and I learned from them. And by learning to them and their experiences and their advice to me, similar to the show that you are doing right now,
Oh, that's
I realised it just made me realise that actually the resilience, the courage, the determination, hopefully the empathy that I learned from my experiences, I could use to write my books and to work with other people, and hopefully, you never know, maybe to inspire some few people to do what I've done.
All right, quick question. What's your favorite book you've written?
Ooh, they're like my children. I can't choose a favourite. The others would all gang up on me.
I think parents lie. I think they all have a
Of
favorite.
course they do. They do,
Yeah.
but they're not
So then
allowed to
you definitely
say.
have a book. You definitely have a favorite book. Um, awesome. Well, do you have anything else you want to add to your tip and let us know some more about intellectual health and history?
I just think that it's really easy to get bogged down on how bad things have been, and that's fine. Go with it, feel the feelings, but then you have to say, "How can I use this?" And that's what I did.
I love it. That's awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much, Eden. We're going to move on to our next guest and we'll bring you back a little bit later. Hey, Janaid. I think you're muted.
I am.
Oh,
Awesome.
Janaid,
So awesome to be here, man. Thank you so much.
quick shout out for how awesome you look. Feel free to do a 360 of your studio if you want.
Oh,
Yeah, we wanted to share that real quick. That's a real podcaster there. Janaid's the guy. Janaid, tell us who you are. Speaking of awesome podcast rooms.
So I am Junaid like Lemonade, a multifaceted professional with rich technology background in technology, video production, and personal development. Now, personal development is the key aspect here. It's what enables us to grow. I've also founded multiple companies and multiple programs, and over the past few decades, I've helped people set up their studios for podcasters, speakers, content creators, and basically enable them to go at it in a way that reduces friction and enables them seamless user experience in creating content.
Awesome. And by the way, he has not made fun of me and my podcast yet so far. So he's very nice to work with. Janae, if I wanted to improve my intellectual health with history, what tiny piece of advice would you give me?
You know, I loved what Eden had mentioned. And yes, our path and our past is what enables us to grow in ways that we can't even imagine.
Explain that a little more.
So, a lot of the times, what happens is we're constantly struggling and thinking about what we did in the past, looking
Yes.
at, oh my God, I did all these things wrong, and we're focusing on the negative things. But if we actually think about the positive things, you have no idea how far you can go because every time I talk to my dad, there's some things come up, but I tell my dad, Dad, when you were growing up, all the things that you had to go through, he had to go to the end of the street to get water, but now every single of his child owns a home, drives a car, has a family. Like that in itself is a growth that would not have been precedented if he hadn't done what he did. So I'm always looking at the positive side, looking at how are we so much better and how can we help others grow and level up as well.
It's funny. I have almost that same conversation with my father. Sometimes he like looks back and goes, "Oh, I did this and that," and I'm like, "Dad, you grew up in Flint, Michigan, and they still can't drink their water there, and now you have sons that are living on islands and doing this and
Hmm.
living like there's no way that would have been possible if
Yeah.
you hadn't done what you did." And it goes for my mother as well. Obviously I feel like the whole goal of parenting is to not necessarily make your children do better, whatever you define that as, but
Yeah.
to give them more opportunity than you had as a child. And
100%.
in that sense, I think my parents succeeded fantastically.
Yes, they
But
did.
sometimes my dad doesn't quite see it. So
We
it's,
just need to remind them. Yeah.
yeah. And I'm like, Dad, I'm not worried about water and I have parents in my life. Therefore, just by those defaults, I'm feeling pretty solid about how I was brought.
Exactly.
I like that you took history to like family and personal history. That's pretty awesome. How's your dad doing? You still talk
He's
to him
doing great.
daily?
I talk to him almost daily, and he's doing great. And talk to my parents, and I'm actually traveling back to California to visit them for a couple weeks.
Is California where you're from?
California is where I'm from, but I currently reside on the East Coast in Virginia.
Okay, cool. Very cool. All right, well, tell us where on your life journey you learned your tip or your piece of advice.
This piece of advice came through a lot of personal struggle, right? We all go through, schooling, through different jobs, different life things, and then we find mentors along the way. And when you listen to these mentors and when you apply it to your life and then you come to realize that we are so much better off than we think we are. So as
Yes.
a devout Muslim and devout practicing Muslim, it is said to look upon the people that have less than us so that we can help them and realize how grateful we should be. So as I'm going through this journey, reading books from Tony Robbins, listening to uh,
Great guy.
you know books and whatnot from Gary Vaynerchuk, Pat Flynn,
Great guy.
all these Seth Godin, Malcolm Gladwell. So I'm a huge book nerd as well. Audiobooks,
Nice.
it's helped me enable to uh, be very self-aware to where we are, because that will show you how humble you need to be, or how humble we can be, so that we have the empathy for the people around us.
I love it. Man, that's awesome, Junaid. What a great little tip. All right, we're going to move on to our next guest, and then we'll bring it back out for the round robin here. Thanks so much, Junaid. Next up, we've got Gail. Gail, tell me who are you?
I am Gail Hugman. I'm an educator. I started teaching in 1974. I started teaching in London in motivating children and finding out what it is that helps children to become the very best. It's taken me a fantastic journey. It's called 3 points, because there's another side to education. There just isn't time to teach in school.
All right, 3 books for parents. Interesting. We'll talk about that
Yes.
later. But first, I want to know, if I wanted to improve my intellectual health with history, what tiny piece of advice would you give me?
I would suggest that you look at history with a view to confirming how developed you actually are. And the reason I say this is because I was having to teach in a class 9-year-old about World War II. And I wanted to make it interesting, and I thought I would play them one of Winston Churchill's speeches. I was going to play. This was some years ago. And what completely blew me away was watching the children's reaction to the tape, because and that dates me now because it was a CD, not a tape deck, and the children were riveted. Thought I would only act, and these were children. These were streetwise children. These were not, very sort of high children.
Gotcha.
These children,
Gotcha.
very savvy, cute children. And they were riveted to what Winston Churchill was saying in this speech. So I didn't switch it off. Finished, even the boys that you think were heading for some countries in life said to me, "That was amazing. Can we hear it?" And we spent a whole morning listening to Winston Churchill's speeches, which I thought about. I realized that at the time Winston Churchill made those speeches, very had TV, very few people had internet. Well, nobody would have had internet. There wasn't the kind of social culture that is now. And so children that I was teaching were intellectually as developed as the people that you're speaking to. And it showed me that we evolved as time, and we can use history to confirm that development and think outside the box.
Wow, I love that. What a great story. And so those 9-year-olds, do you keep in touch with any of them still?
No, no. They'll all be,
Well,
have their own families by now. They might be watching.
hey, that would be a small world if they were. That'd be crazy. But that's awesome, inspiring. History. That's a great moment and a great point. So I guess you kind of told us about this. Tell us a little more. Where on your life journey did you learn this piece of advice?
Well, it's also, I agree with Eden and with Junaid about your own history, that if we allow history to repeat itself, then we might as well give up. And I think we are creatures that are so intelligent, so much more developed than we actually think. When you look through history and see that has been made, and yes, there's a downside, but there's some fantastic stuff that human beings are responsible for creating and are still creating today, and that we have capability to solve all our problems by thinking out of the box and not allowing history to repeat itself.
At least the bad.
And go for our own development. Yeah, go for our own development.
I love it. That is amazing. All right, Gail. Well, we're gonna bring everyone else out and start the round robin section of our show. So let's start with Eden. Can you quickly refresh what your tip was for us?
Yeah, so the tip.
All right. Janae, can you please refresh what your tip was for us?
The tip was to think about where you've come from and how can you improve your life going forward, and what are the things that were holding you back versus how can you move forward by overcoming them.
Gail, what are your thoughts on that tip?
I completely agree. By looking back and seeing, it's a constant forward, and I like it's the letter, and this is something that I focus on when I work. It's constantly trying to develop. I mean, I loved it when I was talking about personal development, because I'm born for, as human beings, we are born to develop, and cultures are kind of put on top of that. We are human first, and that is develop the human first. So core development first. So I think it's a great tip.
So I love that you said that. Junaid, you brought up Tony Robbins, and I believe one of his favorite sayings is CANI, constant and never-ending improvement. So that definitely brings you guys together there. Eden, did you hear Junaid's tip, or do you want him to repeat it real quick?
Would you mind? Yeah, I just disappeared from her.
Yeah, so my tip was to think about where you come from and how far you've come, because that enables you to see, oh my God, I've gained so much momentum. And then if we keep that forward motion, I mean, we don't have eyes on the back of our heart for that exact same reason. And that's why, you want to keep looking at how far you've come and how you're improving continually.
Most definitely, I completely agree with that. And it's really easy when you're looking ahead to what you might want to achieve and the person you might want to be. It's really easy to forget what you've already achieved and how far you've come. And and that's like you were saying with your dad, that you're kind of reminding him that actually, hey, with the benefit is his wisdom and experience, you guys, the next generation, you are so much further forward. So yeah, definitely completely agree with that.
I love it. I love it. Gail, can you quickly refresh what your tip is for us?
My tip: read history, and I mean, historical history, not just your own, but look at history with a view to seeing how it evolved, and that can encourage us to think outside the box. the leaders, the great leaders in history, all thought outside the box, but there was nothing about them other than they thought outside the box. So let's all be thinking outside the box.
Junaid, what are your thoughts?
Sorry, that
No, I absolutely love it because I've learned so much by reading other people's history, and thinking outside of the box is absolutely amazing. And that terminology actually comes from how do you create four intersecting points without being inside the box, and that was a right brain thinking of how they were able to solve that problem. But what this also shows is you'll find a lot of solutions and a lot of problems that we think are brand new were already solved hundreds of years ago.
yeah, that's true too.
I like that.
For example,
like that
the
point.
Think and Grow Rich with Napoleon Hill, a lot of the things that he talked about in the 50s, we are now re-bringing that up, like masterminds and continuing to having a positive mindset, like all of those things were amazing. Seth Godin talks about it in his book. Everything that needs to be invented has already been invented. It's just a
Yeah.
matter
Oh,
of
I'm sure.
you
Yeah.
putting multiple things together to create a new experience.
I love it. I love it. All right, we have a question from the audience, and you guys can answer whenever you want. They say history is written by the winners. How do you know that the history you are learning is the real history?
Woohoo.
Oh,
Wow, Gail, you want to take that one?
well,
Okay.
yeah.
If what you're reading is fact, is reliable fact, then you can, I think, trust it. If someone's version may be based on opinion, and I like to look at fact. So when I work with children, I'm not interested in anybody's history apart from the child's history. I want to know what is core, and that will be core for every person. So when you look at history, you look at the core. What was the driver? Because that is what we need to learn to manage or promote, whichever, whether it's negative or positive. That would be my answer.
I think what they're trying to get
What
at is
Gail
how
said.
to know what is fact. I mean, everything is written by a human, so they have some sort of bias. But I mean, I guess I don't know. I guess they just keep going. Answer, Junaid.
I think what you got to do is you got to look at both sides of the story, right? Most
Yes.
of the times you only have one side of the story, and that's why over the years. So I was attending one of these Friday morning prayers, and the Khatib gave us the entire, basically consolidated 1600 years of history in a 30-minute session, and he shows the rise and fall of humanity, and that this too shall pass. Like every session of something that's going on is it's going to last for about 200 years, 300 years, 400 years maybe, and then you'll see the fall of that dynasty. Just like we've seen the Byzantine Empire, the Turkish Empire, like all of these empires have survived, and then they're come down. So, and the first thing that a invading army will attack, guess what it is? It's the libraries, it's the books, it's the history, because they want to erase everything that's existed before them so that they can rewrite the history. So make sure that you get your source of information from multiple places so that you can make sure and fact check what is actually happening. And if you see right now, you mentioned earlier, there's a civil war happening from where your team is working from.
Right.
There's two sides of the story of there as well. See which side of the story, and that's what people ask. Hey, what side of the story do you want to be on? And it's a double-edged sword if you think about it. Like, do you want to be on the side of the story that's going to be written in the history, or the one that's going to be erased in history? So we need both information. You need to have
And,
all of
and
that.
it's hard to say which one's the right side or the wrong
Mm.
side.
It is,
And
right?
And your perspective and my perspective might also disagree. I might say the team
Exactly.
getting erased is right, or the team
Yeah.
winning gets right. So that adds to the mystery of history.
Yes, yes, it does. The mystery of history.
Mystery.
I like
All right.
that. Yeah, I like that.
Another question from the audience. What historical topic fascinates you the most?
I'm really interested in how women have been portrayed in history. It's really topical here because we've got the Olympics just going on in Paris,
Mhm.
and Marie Antoinette, and I won't go into the opening ceremony, but I've always
Yes.
found her and Catherine the Great and all of these people and Joan of Arc to be really incredible because in their own time they were very strong, very opinionated, kind of everything women were not supposed to be, but they were anyway, and they achieved these amazing things. But it took many, 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 many years, hundreds of years in some cases, for them to be recognised for the good that they did. So that's a general thing that fascinates me about history, that it just goes to show that we've always been strong and opinionated and assertive when we get a chance.
I like it. I like it. Any other answers?
I find our really recent history totally fascinating. From in my life, our population has quadrupled. That's not happened before, and that there has been so much change because the year I was born, 2.5 were on the planet. It's now more than 8 almost, and
That's
so
wild.
that rapid growth and change that we've seen, I find absolutely.
Yeah, that's a very good point. There's a lot of people recently on this earth, and what kind of history are they being taught? How much history do they know? At what point do we forget 100 years ago or 200 years ago? You can only teach so much history in school. Like at some point, you're like, all right, no more Roman Empire, they're gone. No more Byzantine, they're gone. Like, there's a lot of history going on. That's for sure.
But I think that's
Um,
why conversations like these are so important, right? 4 billion hours of videos being watched on YouTube every single day,
4 billion. Wow.
wild.
right?
That's a lot.
And how much hours of content are re-uploading every minute? It's kind of mind-boggling. And this is only from 130 million channels on YouTube. Now
Wow.
think of the numbers between the creators and the consumers. Not everybody's going to be creating. So the question is, which side of history are we on? We're the side of the history that's creating the history,
It's true.
right? We are recording this in history so people in the future can come and listen to this. Like, wow, that's really interesting.
Also,
It's
what I
almost.
think is interesting,
Sorry.
sorry, I was just going to say, what I find interesting that we've all written books, so we are the people that want to be in history.
That's right.
Right.
When in history have
Gotta
so many people had
Write your
so much
story
to
to get it
say?
out.
Everybody's on
Right.
the internet saying their thing, you know. How many people's lunch do you know about? You know, it really is. Everybody wants to say, everybody wants to talk about themselves. When in history has that happened? It's fascinating.
Yeah.
Human behavior.
All right, guys, we got one last thing to wrap up this episode. We need to come up with a daily challenge. This challenge must take less than 5 minutes a day. It must cost $0, and it must be available to anyone in the world from Madagascar to Kathmandu. What thoughts do you guys have?
So I'm going to suggest that every day people look back, and I will as well, I need to do this as well, look back over what they have done, whether that's in helping their community, helping the world at large, just improving their life, and remind themselves of what they've achieved.
Okay, think of a past achievement. I like that. All right. Any other thoughts?
I love that. I would say engage in a brain game or puzzle during a break. So
Okay.
take a break and engage in a brain game that's going to activate your thinking muscle, because it's so easy to just scroll through social media. But if you take some time and do an activity, a brain game, you're now intellectually empowering yourself.
And recommendations, I've got 3. I do every day Lumosity, the New York Times games, and Duolingo to learn a new language.
I
If
love
you
that.
need tips on that. I love the achievement thing as far as history and intellectual health. Can we expand on that so it'll take a full 5 minutes? Maybe like write down 3 things you've achieved. Maybe one you achieved yesterday, one you achieved in the last month, and one you achieved in the last year.
That's a good one.
That's a great one.
That's a good one.
I kind of like that a lot, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. Write down 3 achievements. One yesterday, so you focus on the near. One in the last
How
month to make sure.
How about one internal, something you've achieved inside yourself, like
Ooh.
not criticizing so much or not
Mhm.
judging so much. One internal, one external. So something you have done for somebody else or to improve your environment, and one somebody else can think of. So it's to do with personal development.
Mhm.
Maybe local and global. Internal, local, global.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Let's do that. So we've got 3 achievements. One yesterday, one a month within the last month, and one within the last year. We're gonna write these down too because it's history, right? We're building our own personal history.
Mhm.
And so we're going to write them
Yeah.
down and share them somewhere, whether it's in your diary for when you move on or whether you want to be public and share it on Facebook. That's cool. Either way, it needs to be written in your personal history. And we'll do one internal, one local, and one global. So it could be 6 things, or you can combine them. You're judging yourself however you want to do it. I think that's an awesome daily challenge. Awesome. Guys, we did it all. Thank you so much. I'm going to wrap up the
Thank
show,
you.
and we'll thank you for coming and being a guest. What an awesome time that was. I love shows where you never know where they're going to go. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys had a great time. Today was intellectual health and history. And now I do want to say this episode is sponsored. We have awesome sponsors. First off, we have Don, who's a seasoned expert with 42 years in military and corporate roles, empowers businesses to achieve new heights through enhanced leadership in communication, sales, and retention. Go ahead. His link's being dropped right now if you want to go hang out with Don. Super smart guy. Love having him on our show. He's an awesome sponsor. Check him out. We also have Jen, who is a host of the Be Genuine with Jen podcast. Her podcast is awesome. That link is being dropped right now. Licensed life and health agent dedicated to small businesses and entrepreneurs thrive. Go check her out. Oh, man, we also have Sam Westfall, who is a very, very good archer, founded Archery in Motion, big athlete and physical health guy. If you want to check out archery and how to do it, check his link right now. He's got 35 years of shooting experience. And last but not least, our sponsor, Krista Ford, who is amazing. She's an athlete with 40 plus years in powerlifting and bobsledding, a decorated medalist, and the first Black female bobsledder. She's amazing. Her training focuses on safe, effective techniques. Go check her out on how to be an awesome human. And again, if you want to have a free coaching session with me, sign up and please like and follow all of our guests. I hope you guys learned something amazing.